Yeah.
The heck is this?
Hello and welcome.
Why am I gone?
The Jason Shear Show. This is what Mike looks like when he tries out new technology.
Yes. Hold on. I apologize. Just start talking, Shear.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is my show now.
Right. Oh, God.
I'm not getting a haircut, by the way.
All right. Hold on.
Hello, Mr. Jason Shear.
What's up, Kevin?
Not much. Sorry about Mike's technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on his end, to be honest with you. But Shear, I think Mike was going to talk a little bit about like Brennan and like his expectations for what's been going on this year in relation to what's actually happened this year. Could you filibuster a little bit on?
Yeah. So I think, in terms of, and I'll go and I'll respond to what Mike and I were going to talk about. So basically, like I mentioned previously on the show, there were some words in terms of how I handled certain media things and all that. And I said Brennan was being disingenuous with the injury reports and all that. So I figured, well, Mike gets it, his technology situation figured out, I'll go into that, Kevin. So it's when I said Brent was disingenuous, which caused another guy, Barrett, to call me treasonous, which is wild. Basically, it's the case of Trayden Stukes' dad having to go on Facebook and announce his kid's injury. Another player's dad contacted me to announce his kid's injury because the coaching staff wouldn't do it. These kids were still on the depth chart when everybody with their eyes saw. Like we all saw Gunnar Maldonado getting ACL tests on the sideline, and it took until this past week for Gunnar to be removed from the depth chart, and for Brennan to, kind of address that. And in the press conference, he addressed that guys were out for season-ending injuries, and the reason he did that is because the media complained to the point where he basically forced his hand. But to me, going back to like the Barrett thing. And I only want to address this once. It is more harmful, I think, for fans, for analysts, whoever it may be, to ignore the state of your favorite team than talk about it. Like, in other words, if Arizona football is struggling, to say that everything is great or everything's going to change any minute now, and Brent Brennan has done no wrong, is disingenuous. Right? Like that's more disingenuous than anything, because we all have our own eyes. Like we all see the product in front of us. We all saw, and so yes, there's injuries on the offensive side of the ball. Are they to the point where a team should be scoring 7 points a game and be ranked 132nd in total offense? The starting quarterback's healthy. The best wide receiver in the country is healthy. They have a first-round pick of an offensive lineman in Jonas Sabanea. Josh Baker was there last season. Wendell Moy was there last season. They have a really solid running back in Quali Conley. So the idea that all of a sudden, Arizona's injuries has caused this to be literally one of the worst offensive teams in the country is just an insult to Arizona fans. It's an insult. It's basically saying, I played football and you're too stupid to realize what you're watching. When the case is the opposite. We know what we're watching. When Arizona struggles, we know exactly what we're watching. We're watching a team that can't move the ball. Could that change? Could that be fixed? Sure. But I think it's disingenuous for people to say, oh, everything's going to be okay, because I think it'd be very rare to find someone that says, yes, this offense is going to be fine. And because of that, all of a sudden things are going to, be hunky-dory and great. It's just, it's not fair to the fans that watch these games. And it's not fair to the players too, because what happens when it's not okay? Well, then it gets turned. So now you've created a narrative that it's all going to be okay. And when it's not all okay, whose fault does that become? And then Barrett's on the boards blaming players and stuff like that, when at the end of the day, these things fall on the coaches. And Brennan says it every weekend. So, it was strange to me to be attacked like that. As Mike knows, when he gets his stuff together, I was pretty pissed off. I'm not a guy that gets pissed off a lot, but that comment really pissed me off.
Yeah, and I think you're right to say that the product on the field, it's fair to be frustrated, right? That is it's fair to say it's not what we expected. And underwhelming is okay to an extent. It's a first year staff, but I think the product has been so underwhelming and so disappointing to an extent that it's totally, I think, understandable for fans to be frustrated with this product, considering the level of talent that this roster does have, right, Cheer?
Yeah, I mean, and look, again, injuries have played a role. There's no doubt about it. But, it's a situation where it's the defense is pretty good. And the defense has more injuries than the offense, right? You're missing Stukes for the year. You're missing Gunner for the year. You have no depth at linebacker, literally none. Isaiah Johnson hurts himself in warm-ups and all that. There's talent to be had. Oh my gosh.
I'm back. I am back.
Oh God. And now you're muted, Mike.
Yeah.
I do apologize.
Oh, Mike, your microphone is crazy right now. Your microphone is crazy right now, Mike. I don't know. I don't know what that was. We got to get that.
The they made was getting Mike new technology. Someone has to install it for him and test it.
Old dog, new tricks, right? But yeah, you were saying Sheer.
Yeah, I just think it's. And look, I get some of the blame. People are blaming me because I said that this team would be good. And obviously I was wrong. We saw it during the spring. You can ask any other media member. The offense was great during the spring. There is, in all my years of doing this, I've never seen a bigger disconnect than what we saw in the spring versus what we saw this season. It's crazy. And it's always before every presser, the media talks about it. Jeremiah Patterson was unstoppable. Joseph, I'm sorry to break it to you. My guy was unstoppable in camp, and he is completely irrelevant during the season. I've just never seen anything like it. And so if I, and I report on what I see, and I realize that people take that and run with it. But I apologize for that in a sense. But Andre Barrett's, what do I think the disconnect? I have no clue. I am completely honest when I say I've never seen anything like it, because usually it translates. In Jedd Fisch's first year, I knew how bad this team was. I know what bad football teams look like, right? We've seen plenty here. And I didn't leave camp thinking at all that this was a bad football team. I really didn't.
Yeah, and the disconnect is crazy to me because we see players like Jeremiah Patterson. I know it's become somewhat of a joke on the stream and such, but he clearly has talent, right? He clearly is someone who can be effective if utilized in the correct ways, probably in short bursts. But where do you think the regression is coming from some of these players that clearly have talent but are underperforming? Is it schematics? Are they not being utilized properly for what their talents are?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be schematic. So, Wendell Moy didn't become a bad offensive lineman overnight. And he's not bad this year, but he's not what he was last year. So, Brennan Carroll and his philosophy was you hold your ground. You hold your ground and you give the quarterback enough time. Josh Oglesby changed the entire scheme. He wants you to get downhill. His blocking technique, and he admitted this, I'm not, criticizing it. It's his blocking technique has completely changed. And it's like he's coaching scheme to a personnel that he doesn't have. Same thing with Noah. Noah didn't wake up and become a bad quarterback. Jedd Fisch helped him along, obviously, but Brett Brennan has yet to make that adjustment to get Noah to succeed. It's these guys all of a sudden didn't become bad football players. That's just not how it works. So you got to blame scheme and personnel in terms of adapting and all that.
All right, now let's see. Do I sound better?
Hey,
Yes.
Do I
Mike is
sound better?
back.
All right. I do apologize on that. That is totally on me. Okay, now let's get to this. We might have to text Jacob and tell Jacob we might have to reschedule because I messed up on this. I do apologize. Okay, so let's talk about this little. Tough that we got into, or that was going on here on Twitter, social media. Basically, you were being called disingenuous, or that you said the coaching staff was disingenuous about injuries. Go ahead and make the case why they are disingenuous about injuries.
Kind of already did, Mike, when you were gone. But
Right.
it's just a matter of like guys being out for the year, but still being listed on the depth chart. And then I think it's disingenuous to blame the offensive struggles on injuries when even when the guys were healthy, the offense was struggling. Like saying Rhino's hurt is bad, but Rhino was healthy before that.
Right.
Like Arizona was healthy, and it still couldn't move the ball.
All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit then about the thing that was going on about how there's this belief, I think, that the media is somehow turning the fan base against this team. I do not believe that for a second, because I believe that is disingenuous to the fan base. How about that? People know what they're watching out on the football field. You don't need somebody to tell you, well, these guys aren't being nice, so therefore that's the issue. The problem with this, the problem here is that this is a bad product. People know what they're watching. I always say I'm a fan with a microphone, whatever. My opinion's no better than anybody else's. Maybe it's worse. But at the same time, you also do know that this is a bad product that has been put out on the field. It has been absolutely underwhelming, and to think that somehow this is turning the fan base against the team, no, you're giving them way too much credit here. What they see is on the field. Everybody in this chat, they know what they're watching. They know, and it's not a good product, Sheer. Period. Point blank.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to say that the coaches know more in terms of X's and O's and pulling guards and, form trips and all that, that's fine, right? But we're not blind. When you watch a football team, they lose 41-19, and the next week they lose 34-7. I think it's fair to say that they're not a good football team, right?
Right. Yes, and we need to be very clear about something. I don't think that you would now. Let's talk about the injury thing a little bit. When it comes to that, I think there also was a little bit of a misinterpretation. You weren't saying that there's been no injuries. What you were saying, at least from what I was gathering, is you were saying that they're not being straightforward about injuries. And I don't know what else to say.
I said there's been no injuries on offense in the sense where like season ending, like it changing everything, like defense, right? Like it's disingenuous with the injuries, and I think it's disingenuous to say that the offense is struggling because of the injuries.
Right.
The offense was struggling when everyone was healthy.
The offense was struggling when everybody was healthy. And you also still have Brent Brennan's words when it comes into this. Brent Brennan was literally saying that, guys are running in the wrong direction. We don't know what it is. And that to me is still the question is how in the world are you this far into the season and you don't know what your identity was? And it almost feels like you didn't really know going into the season what your identity was going to be, Sheer.
Mike, we're 7 games into the season. If I asked Brent Brennan on Saturday after the game, what's your identity? He would say we're still finding it.
Yes, exactly. Now, again, I think another thing too is that, and this is kind of the title of if you're ignoring what you see on the field and just saying that, it's good, we just got to support, everybody supports the players. I get parents all the time that reach out to me and they say, listen, you've been hard on Brent Brennan, but I very much appreciate you. I very much appreciate that, you've backed the kids. I put it out all the time. I feel we failed Noah. I really do. I do. I feel that we failed Noah, that these guys came back and there just doesn't seem to be any kind of a plan. There doesn't seem to be any kind of a style. This was a go for broke season, Sheer. And not only was this a go for broke season, this was the type of season where you knew that, you had to be able to string back-to-back good seasons together. And that's obviously not going to be the case here. And also, let's be honest, it's the same thing week in and week out. How are we at this stage week in and week out where you don't know what's going on, basically it's the same stuff? And Brent Brennan comes out in a presser and he goes, well, I need to be better about things. Dude, at some point, show some actions here. because it just, and the player regression, that's another thing. Sure, there has been injuries. Absolutely, there's been injuries. But at the same time, look at a guy like Wendell Moy. Wendell Moy is a player that, behind the scenes, people on Jedd Fisch's staff would tell you straight up that this guy's going to play in the NFL at some point. He's going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick. Wendell Moy this season looks far from a 3rd or a 4th round pick, Sheer.
Yeah. I mean, and it goes back to what I said before. Like, these guys didn't just wake up and become bad football players.
Right.
And I think the thing that's frustrating, Mike, is you nailed it. Like, Arizona only has a few of these opportunities, right?
Yes.
Like, let's be real here. Arizona's not winning 10 games every year. Whether they fire Brennan and hire another guy, it doesn't matter. That's just not the type of program Arizona is in this day and age. So when you have a roster that is good enough, and please spare me, I see people saying, oh, the roster wasn't that good. It's good enough to win.
It was good enough. Yes, it was good enough to not do this. Here's the thing, and I'm going to keep coming back to. The Colorado game was really kind of the line in the sand for me, at least. Well, it wasn't for me. I was off on them before this. But Colorado is not a great football team. This is a team that went into double overtime again, or overtime against a bad Baylor team. This is a team that got destroyed at Nebraska. It's a good team, but Arizona made them look like the 2001 St. Louis Rams. And I like Dwayne Aquina, and I think that's something we need to get a little bit of kudos for. We give credit where credit is due. We think I'll give Sheer, and I'm going to give Sheer some kudos on this. By the way, you like my branded Bills hat? But I'm going to give Sheer some credit on this one as well. In that Sheer did not like the Dwayne Aquina, was not a huge Dwayne Aquina guy, and he was hard on him throughout the first part of the season. Then Sheer started seeing results that he liked. Guess what? He has now talked about how Dwayne Aquina is doing really good. Now, Sheer should have liked Dwayne Aquina before that, but that's neither here nor there. But right now, when it comes to Dwayne Aquina, he's giving him credit. This offense is a disaster, and it feels like the wrong things are being focused on. If a staff is focusing on what you are saying, or putting up curtains around the weight room, or just things like that, that's not what they should be focusing on, Sheer.
Look, and I have like no issue with Brandon Sanders. I want to make that very clear.
No, he was my second favorite player of all time.
Yeah, look, I have no issue. I know some people saw him tweet at me, and it bothered me because it was coming from Brandon Sanders, like a guy that played a lot, has a career. Like, it's weird to me. Like you mentioned, the curtains and all that. 48 hours before the game, and clearly the coaching staff is on Twitter reading this stuff.
Right.
Like, why? What are we doing? Right. And it's like you're focusing on the media. You're focusing on injury reports. Focus on the game. Like, you look around big teams throughout the country, right? Even not big teams. Look at like ASU. I hate to say this, but look at ASU. You think Dillingham gives a crap about what Chris Cartman is tweeting?
No, he doesn't. And let's talk about that for a second, because again, let's talk about that for a second here, because and I got to give a big shout out to the PHNX Sun Devils crew. They got Cam Scattaboo. Cam Scattaboo is somebody that Arizona would never, to any media source, give Cam Scattaboo out, or under any circumstances whatsoever. They just wouldn't. Forget about me for a second. They wouldn't give him to Spears. They wouldn't give him to basically anybody. And
well, look, Mike, if you sent an email to the SID today and you said, "Hey, can I have Noah Fafita on my show?"
No chance.
No chance. None.
No chance whatsoever. And that's the part to me that just frustrates me about pretty much everything here, is that this was supposed to be a guy, and Brent Brennan, and again, this is nothing personal, but Brent Brennan said from day one that he's never taken any job more seriously than this. He takes great responsibility in all of this. Well, what I see is, and again, I know people are going to give me a lot of crap on this. I don't care. What you're supposed to see, a coach that is pouring everything into it on all fronts, a CEO coach, no less, a guy like a Kenny Dillingham. Kenny Dillingham is out in the community. His players are out there. He is approachable, and he's leaving no stone unturned. And if something's wrong, he gets it fixed.
Look, I always go back to this, Mike. We are in the day of age where recruiting is 75% how much you pay a guy, right?
All right.
Kenny Dillingham, man, I hate doing this, but we got to do it. They beat, was it Utah they beat at home?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing Kenny Dillingham does is, I'm glad you guys won money. Donate it to our collective.
Yes.
Lane Kiffin gets in front of the stage every week and goes, our collective, our collective, our collective, our collective. At no point this season has Brennan mentioned, please donate money to our collective.
Right.
That's your job in this day and age. That is absolutely part of the job description. Go out in front of people and say, donate money. If you want a good recruiting class, donate money. That's what it comes down to. Not once has he said that.
Now, I will say this. Do you think that there is something going on here that we're going to talk about something that I think is very important here in just a minute. But first, branded bills.
Yes.
Let's talk about branded bills.
You look good today.
I think I look really good. I was very excited today. I talked with the recruit right before the show. That was a mistake on my part. That will never happen again. I do apologize. But branded bills, Sheer, look at this. I look so much better than I normally I am reprehensible looking. You can attest to this. Branded bills, though, makes me look better. Head to Branded Bills and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Check it out. Branded Bills, my friend. Branded Bills. What say you, Sheer? Does this make me look better than normal?
Yeah, it's a cute hat. It really is.
Yes.
You
Now,
look good.
I think I look fantastic.
I look good.
I think I look that hat is way too much of a curve. Very good point, Dennis Walsh. Branded Bills. Also, y'all know what time it is. Get the wave going. Get the wave going. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. All
if
right.
Brennan went on stage tomorrow and just did the wave after the game, would all be forgotten?
No. I'll be very honest about that. I'm going to get back to that here in just a second. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos, though. Everybody get the wave. Come on. Only Erica L. Day, the great. By the way, we need to talk about Erica L. Day in a second. But Gila River Resorts and Casinos, you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details. Check it out, the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Okay. And again, the wave, very, very good. Check that one out. Again, but I'm going to go back to this again. Tucson criticism is fairly tepid, and I'm going to give you a lot of credit here. You've said many times that Brent Brennan is a good guy, and you've said it, and I've said it as well. But there also deserves to be criticism that comes into play here. I know that people don't really understand this, but I will say that parents talk to us, and you could say that parents, they're biased, they're this, that. Sheer and I talk with multiple starters from multiple that have started under multiple staffs, and they'll tell you, point blank, that the strength and conditioning program here under Brent Brennan is not what it was under Tyler Owens. Is that treasonous to report that? I mean, is that? And again, I'm not even beating up Barrett on that. I'm asking that question though. It's far more plyometric based. The guy, it's not nearly his weight, and we've had the same from different people. The same thing that like the weight workouts under TO. They were harder than the games. Guys were ready. That has not been the same thing here. There just doesn't seem to be a top-to-bottom approach that works. Sheeran, we're calling it out.
I almost wonder if T.O. was so good that whoever replaced him was going to look bad. You know what I mean? Like
T.O. was great, but
it's just like talking to parents and stuff. It's different. Like it is a completely, and then it goes back to what I said with like, you do this with the losing program, right? When you guys go 2-10 and you're a new coach and you go in there and you change everything. Jedd did it. He changed everything and he said, look, we're going to lose our first year.
Right.
I'm just telling you right now, we're going to lose, but this is going to pay off. Brent Brennan did this with a winning team, right? Offensive line schemes changed. Right. Defensive line schemes changed. Your playbook completely, utterly different. All of it is just a 180 from Jedd Fisch, right?
Right.
Your strength and conditioning. T.O. made you lift heavy weights, was tough on the guys, this and that. 180. We're doing the complete opposite. It just, nothing makes sense. And that's one of the things we're like, I don't know the scientific nature of strength and conditioning, but I know that like 5 guys get hurt every game.
Right. And that's, again, that is what this comes down to. It is and this does not feel like a big, strong team. This does not feel like, and let's talk about another thing then. The transfer portal thing, the transfer portal absolutely changes everything when it comes to this, because you're able to get players in and out. Brent Brennan brought in a couple players that have been able to be contributors. You needed to be able to get more, and we talked about it, and you just haven't been able to get that. Who is that on at this point?
If you're not going to get guys, and look, Brent Brennan was hired in January. By that time, there weren't as many top guys on the market. Then you got to evaluate, and let's look at the evaluations. Right. The evaluations say not good. You weren't. Right. You took guys that and the one thing is, and I give credit to the last staff, and you know this. And Doherty used to tell us, we will never take a guy to take a guy.
Right.
He has to be good enough that we believe he can play, and if he's not, we'd rather just have less players.
Right, exactly.
In Arizona, this coaching staff took a bunch of guys that have no chance of ever being good enough to play.
You know what it was? You know what it is to me? And again, it feels crummy giving Jedd Fisch credit, but we've always said this. Jedd Fisch did a good job here. Don't like the way Jedd Fisch left, obviously, but Jedd Fisch did a good job here. Look at Sheer trying to hold in a yawn. Oh. But you could talk with Jedd Fisch. You could talk with Jedd Fisch behind the scenes or somebody, and you knew exactly what he wanted to do from day one. I mean, let's talk about Doherty for a second. With Doherty, it was very, very simple. There were basically three prerequisites. If we're going to miss, we are going to miss big. We are going to miss with big players. We are going to miss with guys. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work. An Elijah Payne, a Tylen Gonzalez didn't work. They're not good enough. Guess what? It also has worked in other situations, though. A Jonas Savineo, who was a 3-star kid. A Wendell Moy, who until this year was really good. A 2-star player. I mean, I can name other examples, obviously. But if we're going to miss big. We are also going to be fast on the outside. We're going to be fast and tall. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, you're able to get players that are, that are difference makers. Sometimes it doesn't. But Arizona didn't go into games in year 3 looking overmatched physically and looking slower. This team looks incredibly slow, and a lot of the players don't look like they've improved. I don't know what else to say.
Someone had a plan. It may not have worked, but he knew what he wanted to do. He said, we're going to hit Texas hard, and we're going to get faster and more athletic. I don't know what this staff is looking for. Like, it's kind of all over the place. And to their credit, they're going to get a commitment here in about an hour. Right. And there's still guys, I believe. It's not like everyone's leaving, but now, you see like Robert McDaniel has an offer from Florida. Terry Shelton's at Texas A&M tomorrow. This is when it starts. And I'm not saying those guys are going to flip. I don't know about it. I think Arizona is still leading heavily for McDaniel. But like if they lose tomorrow, like this is what you're going to see. The Sharks are circling. And if that recruiting class and you lose your top guys and you don't replace them, like Mike, we said it, and we might as well be open to it. We think next year's team is going to struggle.
Yeah. I don't know what.
There's just not a reason for now. Maybe they
don't get better. Here's where I come back to. You don't get better by losing T-Mac. You don't get better by losing Jonas Savineo. You don't get better by losing Takario Davis. And that to me is still the malfeasance of this of Brent Brennan not having a plan going into this season. You needed to know offensively, and it's cool you fired Dino Babers. I get all that, or demoted him. But how did you not know exactly what you wanted to do? Another thing too, a Colorado person was messaging me during the game, and he goes, it's very interesting. He says, this team plays with absolutely no urgency and they're down. And that's a great point. Lev made that point too. In the fourth quarter, there's no hurry up. There's no anything. You're just kind of looking around. I don't know what else to say here. And again, I'm going to keep going back to this point. I am a fan with a microphone. Sheer is more serious than I am because I'm a dork. But that's not necessarily saying much. But I will say, though, that it is incredibly, I think, demeaning to the fan base to say, well, these two guys, they're changing the narrative on Arizona football, when these fans look at exactly what we're looking at, and they are appalled by what they are seeing.
Look, Erica doesn't even know what an offensive lineman does.
Correct.
Right?
She thinks they make tackles.
Right. And she texted me we sat next to each other during the game 2 weeks ago, whatever game that was, Texas Tech. And she's like, well, this isn't working and this isn't working. Your average person can watch the football game and see if you run to the inside 5 times and it doesn't work, then running
Stop
to the
doing it.
inside doesn't work. Like
Right.
anyone can see that. It's not like it's basically saying you're too like Sheer and Mike have the power to sway an opinion because everyone else is too stupid to know what they're watching.
And again, that's not. I mean, that's just not it. Listen, I say a lot of things that people don't like, or that people think that
never.
people think are stupid. And guess what? That doesn't change their opinion. I'm going to give you an example here, and this probably isn't the right time to give this example, but I am going to give this example because I'm going to get eaten alive on this. Kevin, we might need to mute the remarks here in just a second. But I like Dave Heeke. I like Dave Heeke. You know what? Guess what? I never swayed the public's opinion on Dave Heeke. I would put the same stuff out there. Dave Heeke inherited something where players were getting arrested left and right off the field. Coaches were getting arrested left and right off the field. Listen, I mean, he made a great hire with Tommy Lloyd, made some bad hires as well. I like Dave Heeke. Guess what? Most people don't like Dave Heeke. They don't think he did a good job here, as you can tell by the remarks. Guess what? Nobody is saying, well, you know, I was on the fence about Dave Heeke, but Mike Luke said that. No, that's not how this works, man.
It became a running joke after a while that you like Dave Heeke.
Right. So, but that's what I'm saying. I like Dave, but but guess what? Nobody cares because they're like, I don't like this about it. I don't like this about it. I don't like this about it. And so for staff to get so upset about, something like this, and there are things about Brennan that have been very disingenuous, and I don't know what else to say. And I'm going to say this. Brennan said when he took over, he said, I want all the fans to be at the practices. I want as many people. I've had open practices my whole career, this, that, yada, yada, yada. We would get the U of A emails for practice for the media, and every single email, it would say at the bottom, do not tell anybody what time practice is or where it is. That is called being disingenuous. I don't know what else to say. That is disingenuous. Yeah. So
and it goes back to Jedd. Jedd had snow cone machines out of practice and tweeted every day, come to practice.
Jedd never told us under any sort of now Jedd did lie to you about some scoops that I gave you. And,
absolutely.
But Jedd never tried to hide things though.
Yeah. And it's like if practice is open, it's open.
Right.
That's it. It's open. We're gonna tweet. Practice starts at 8:40. People will be like, Sheer, what time? And I have Twitter proof. Sheer, what time does practice start? And I'd reply, I'm not allowed to tell you, but if you happen to walk around U of A at 9:30, you might run into something.
That's called being disingenuous. I don't know what else. What else is there? And I don't know what else to say. Now, Rudy Martinez, Sheer's actually going to stick up for Dave Heeke here for a second. They gave Jedd Fisch every single thing he wanted. He had all the money that he wanted. Everything that everything that Jedd Fisch asked for, Jedd Fisch got. So no athletic director was going to be able to lock him up at that point. None. Nobody.
And I think what happened to Dave is also caught in a bad position because once again, in Arizona, plane failed, and he was stuck in Pullman, Washington when this is all going down, and Jedd used that to his advantage. I don't want to go into details here, but Jedd absolutely
absolutely
and took advantage of that situation. And again, this goes back to like what I say against Brennan. Like, I don't think Dave is a very good AD.
You Mike don't like Dave. And guess what? I like Dave.
And you'll say this offline. I've told you, Dave as a human, love him. Great dude. I could have a beer with Dave.
Right. Dave is an A+ dude. It just, but guess what? I'm going to keep going back to this. Just because I like Dave Heeke, if you go on Sheer's board, they think I'm a moron whenever I bring it up. And guess what? That's fine. Guess what? Nobody looked at Mike Luke and they're like, oh, well, Mike Luke said this.
The only opinion Mike has the power to sway is I got to think that Del Taco sales are up locally.
I would certainly assume so. I mean, if they're not, then what are we really?
Circle K,
then what are we really doing here? It's also another thing too that is also a little bit is that all kinds of alumni have. This is another thing. This is another point that I wanted to make here because I think it's a very salient point. And when I can make a salient point, I am going to make that salient point. But you might say salient. That sounds a little thirsty. NUTRL. All right. I need to apologize to Erica L. Day. I did not even realize this. I do apologize. I was rude to Erica L. Day at the last watch party. Erica L. Day is amazing. She drinks NUTRL and she is fun. She is the life of the party. Erica Elday is awesome. As a matter of fact, she will be hosting with Sheer next Friday while I will be in San Diego. So again, hint, hint, tease, tease. But you might say, in the meantime, how can I be like the great Erica Elday? Check out NUTRL. Drink some NUTRL, just like Kevin L. Thomas. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch NUTRL, flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri. Check it out. Sheer NUTRL is fantastic. You like NUTRL. This is true.
I do. I had one the other day. Not bad.
Yeah. No, they're very tasty, very scrumptious, very scrumptious. Also, Circle K. Listen, let me ask you this: where do you think with Circle K? Do you think there's any chance that Brent Brennan has been in that Circle K?
Yeah, I would. And if not,
Really?
I'll tell you right, Mike. If not, that might be the worst thing he's done since arriving.
Yes, Circle K. Either way, check it out. Circle K. If you don't go there, I don't know how to help you. Circle K. Also, the great thing about Circle K is that you can be part of the inner circle, like the great Dennis Walsh. You might be like Dennis Walsh and say, oh, man, you know what? I'm going to be flying around my helicopter and doing all this stuff. But you know what? Are you really? It's kind of like the Colorado fans that are just rooting for Dion. It's a hollow victory. Don't be like that. Go to the Circle K where you should be at. The Circle K absolutely is the spot to be. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Okay, now.
Tyler Warden, would it be too extreme? Put that up with the paper bag.
I know. Let me ask you this real quick.
Southern Miss did that, and Will Hall was fired the next day.
I mean, hey, dude, the New Orleans Saints back in the day, they used to call them the Aints.
Yeah.
And let's see. Oh, Dennis Walsh says, oh, by the way, the great Dennis Walsh defended Sheer vociferously on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah, that was very nice of you, Dennis Walsh.
Have you unblocked Dennis Walsh?
Yeah, we talk. We're good.
All right.
He was never blocked. He was muted. Get that clear.
Well, that's as bad as it. Dennis Walsh is the man. Okay. We're gonna get to West Virginia here in just a second. But honestly, man, I think it's just because if you want to take to the social media, aspect to go after media and stuff, I think that you've got to be in there for all of it. And if you're going to criticize something and say that it's disingenuous, whatever the case may be, then there's a lot that we need to there's a lot that can be unpacked here, because we got a lot of different examples of things. And like you said, it's not did you bring up the Trade and Stukes example?
Yeah.
What are we doing here,
his
man?
Dad shouldn't have to go to Facebook to announce his son's injury.
Right, and there's other players as well that are out, and they were listed as questionable. Now, I do say that give Brent Brennan some credit, because he went and he's now started to say that if players are out for the season,
what a coincidence.
Right. Again, that's because of you. It's not for any other reason. But that whole thing, like I said, it's kind of like, and again, people beat me up for bringing up the curtains all the time. I will continue to bring up the curtains. I do not care. It is just an amateur look at this stage. And I think that's what's just frustrating about all of this.
You know what's amateur too is, and I gave you an example the other day, years ago, and when I worked for Rivals. We used to give
Rivals, RIP, by the way.
Yeah, we used to give out grades for positions and coaching and all that. And one of my writers gave Mike Tuiasosopo in the defensive line an F. And Mike Tuiasosopo sees the guy at practice and goes right up to him and starts yelling at him. Right? Mm-hmm. 20 minutes later, they're joking around like nothing happened. Mm-hmm. That was significantly more professional. I've got them in yelling matches with assistants, and because we've disagreed over something I put out there or said, and a half an hour later, we're cool. And that goes behind closed doors. Going on social media is insane to me. Yes. It's just, or going through other people's and saying like, hey, Sheer, come into my office. Let's discuss this. I've done that so many times, and I'm sure every publisher on this network has, and it works. Because at the end of the day, I think what people have to realize is Mike and I want nothing more than for Arizona to win every single game by 100 points.
It helps my business model, because guess what? More people want to talk about Arizona football when they're good.
Like, and I'm not sure Brennan realizes that. Like, all I want is for Arizona to win.
Right.
Like, that's it. And if that makes me a homer, yeah, awesome. I'm a homer.
You are
I cover a team and I want them to win at a school that I went to and graduated.
Also, one thing that we do need to address real quick is Duddleston. This is becoming absurd. He's the longtime U of A SID, goes at Sheer all the time now. He doesn't like internet. He doesn't believe that that's real media. He's been very clear about that. He is very much of a everything you're seeing is great there out on the football field. You got to give everybody credit. You got to blindly say that everything is great. This is also the same guy though that Sheer had to go around him to get media credentials. The Cat Tracks folks basically were able to get stories from Lute Olson left and right, while Dud was basically begging Lute not to give them anything. Come on, man. Like, what are you doing?
Tom is the same dude. I don't know if people saw it on Twitter the other day. He said he still wouldn't credential recruiting sites because it's not real journalism.
Right. I don't know what
I don't know if you look around here, but like 24/7 and on 3,
right?
Kind of running things a little bit, right? Like you guys are not. No offense to you, Mike. You're not true journalism or whatever Dub thinks is true journalism. You're doing pretty damn well for yourself, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, and again, but that's what I don't understand, though. They keep talking about this influence that I have, all of this influence, but how can I have influence if I shouldn't even be credentialed? And again, I shouldn't have influence. It's just my opinion here, but it's just kind of a snotty thing to go about. So,
it's so dumb. It's so dumb. And I could tell Tom stories for days.
Okay, yeah, exactly. But like I said, Cat Tracks, those stories will always live on, and he never reacts when he doesn't want to talk about that. I'll put it to you like that. Okay, let's see here. Beaver Nation, your football team belongs in the WAC. Be nice, Beaver Nation, because we got basketball coming around the corner, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. Now, West Virginia. Let's get to a little bit of a West Virginia preview.
Lev just made a joke, Mike. I'm talking to Lev on the side here. Something I want to get your opinion. If Arizona loses on Saturday, do you think I should ask Brennan to endorse a presidential candidate in order to distract from the field stuff?
Yeah,
it's not a bad idea.
That could be our
bad idea.
That could be our curtains down segment. All right, but we're going to get back to that in just a second. And like I said, with Brandon is an all-time U of A great. He's invested totally in the program. I get all of that. Just some of the other stuff just didn't really make any sense to me. Brandon is still my second favorite player of all time behind Chris McAllister, so he is in good company there. All right, now, Mr. Kevin L. Thomas, can we get to our predictions here? Because we are both backing the A on our predictions here, Jason Shear. All right. Shear going, or Mike going 31-23, Shear going 31-20, Kevin Thomas, the great Kevin Thomas, going 24-17.
I like how you made that up completely.
Well, I know, because you didn't respond to me when I messaged you about it, so I thought it was 31-20. I did message you about it. So, yes, I did message you about it.
Well,
so.
Can I correct it, even though it's the graphics?
Yeah, you didn't respond to me.
I picked West Virginia.
No, you didn't.
I swear to God, on my podcast,
Did you?
Yeah.
You told me yesterday that you liked Arizona, and you said Arizona's going to win big, right? That's exactly what you told me. What changed?
Nothing. I picked West Virginia like 17-13. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely not what you said. And you posted on the board. You did say that Arizona should win.
Arizona should absolutely win this game.
Right.
I'm not picking Arizona to win, but when you look at this game, the spread this morning, Mike, moved to 4.5.
Right.
Meaning Green and Willem aren't playing. I'll tell you this. Arizona at home against a West Virginia team without the best lineman in the Big 12. Seriously, he's been the best lineman in the Big 12 and their starting quarterback. If Arizona can't win this game, I'm not sure they win another game all year.
Okay, now let me ask you this. What do you think about it's an interesting point. All right, so let's talk a little bit.
That is funny, Joseph. The classic sheer hedge.
Oh, yes, dude, the sheer hedge is the worst thing ever.
No, I picked West Virginia, 17-13.
Okay, 17-13. The sheer hedge is absolutely the worst thing ever, but whatever. It's
or either they lose 17-13 or win 31-20. Either way, I'm right.
Either way, yeah. Either way, we did the hedge artist exactly. Ted Wardo's a friend to Hedge Wardo
is great. Hedge Wardo is awesome.
Hedge Wardo is very, very good. Okay, now let's talk a little bit now about the some of these prospective recruits, because this is what is going to happen next. First of all, if you're a fan that is tweeting at recruits, stop. there's a putz on your board that is
I don't think he
telling.
did that. I looked. I think he's full of it. I even looked on Terry Shelton's Twitter account. But
All right,
either
well, good.
way, never.
Don't
tweet
tweet
at
at recruits, dude.
No.
But I will say this as well. Because if there are decommitments, we'll probably get blamed. Guess what? Terry Shelton, and I have no clue what's going on with Terry Shelton, but with Terry Shelton, guess what? He is now a high 4-star recruit. He can go anywhere in the country that he so desires. Guess where he was also at? The Arizona-Colorado game. You know what's probably not going to impress him? The offense that he saw in the Arizona-Colorado game. That's probably not going to be, hey, man, look at that out there. That could be you out there next year.
Look,
That's
I don't
probably
know.
not going to impress him.
I don't know if Texas A&M's offered him yet.
It'd be crazy not to.
Right, but look, if you go Saturday and Texas A&M puts up a lot of points, I don't know who they're playing, but I'll look it up as I speak. And the wide receivers look awesome, and they offer them. Okay, so they're playing freaking LSU, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
That atmosphere is going
be
to
crazy.
be insane. And let's say they score 35 points, and why? I mean, what are you going to do? Is that our fault? Right.
Right.
Robert McDaniel, I actually think Arizona is going to keep Robert McDaniel. I don't think the Florida offers that tempting because Billy Napier is getting fired too.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to offer more money. They're in the SEC. They're freaking Florida.
All right. Let's talk about what you need to be able to do then for this. You've got to obviously get rid of almost the entire offensive coaching staff. I like Alonzo Carter. I'm fine with keeping Matt Adkins a tight ends coach. The rest would be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I know you like Oglesby a lot. I get all of this, and but the line has been terrible. There's been no communication whatsoever.
No, I'm cool with that. And here's the thing that I also think is important, Mike.
Right.
Arizona is very clearly going to hire an OC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is not anything against Brennan. This is my philosophy. The OC should be responsible for hiring his offensive line coach and running his system. And hiring, because when you look at this, Brennan hired everybody on the staff, right? And really he brought him from San Jose State. The only new guy on the offensive staff is Bobby Wade, right?
Right.
Now look, I would consider keeping Bobby Wade if Gio Richardson and Terry Shelton and Ms. Tunkara went to me and said, we will sign if Bobby Wade is here.
Right.
If they decommit, no offense to Bobby Wade, but his value goes down, right?
Right.
Like they have a really good wide receiving class committed, but if those guys aren't committed, and you lose T-Mac,
everybody, please hit the like button. By the way, please hit the like button. But yeah,
I like Atkins as a tight ends coach. I know people, and I think he's being unfairly judged as being an OC. I think this whole situation.
I would agree with that. That's why I'm saying that I would keep Matt Adkins. Plus, he's one. Plus, Matt Adkins looks like a guy that. How do I put this? Matt Adkins looks like a guy that just likes what he's doing. Looks like he's, the thing I never understood, like half the time, like Babers would just kind of be up there. He'd be kind of condescending to reporters. He'd be a little miserable. Matt Adkins looks like he's being a good dude as much as he can. So I like, I like him a lot.
Yeah, I like Adkins. And I will say this, Adkins works his ass off. He really, I know that for a fact.
All right, one thing that I do need to ask, because people are asking me left and right about Wildcat Country and what I think about him. I want to say I don't know Shane at all. Never really heard a lot of great things, but whatever. But I don't know.
I don't care.
Right.
I know people think
Eric is a great dude. Eric is a great dude. He's a good guy. I don't know what else.
I don't blame them for Barrett going on their show and saying, you're not going to, like, if I start going in a rant right here, you're not going to stop me.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that, and I also believe too, in this day and age with, if you have somebody on and they give their opinion, we're big boy. I mean, you're a big boy. You can take what somebody is saying and whatnot. So I don't believe for a second that, they should have to edit any of that out, because that's what that guy said. So either way, like I said, and
we are completely serious. People think we're kidding. When that offensive coordinator post job goes up, Marcus Arroyo is Brent Brennan's first call. I'm not saying he'll take it, but I can tell you right now, with 100% certainty, Marcus Arroyo's job to turn down.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Jesus Vaz, the great Jesus Vaz says, Mike Luke, can you ask Skier under what scenario school won't look at the money and do whatever it takes to fire Brennan? That being said, would SMU Rhett Lashley be out? Here's where it comes down to me with this when it comes to it is unlikely. It is unlikely that Brent Brennan, under any circumstance, is going to be fired. I will say this, though, and you and I have talked about this a lot, and it becomes interesting. And again, what we're about to speculate on has absolutely no bearing on what Arizona, what fans, or what recruits are going to do. And
That's
guess
why
what?
he's been listening to me on this one. I
And
promise.
guess what? And if they're listening to me on this, then the joke is on them. I don't know what else to say. They should not be listening to. That being said, oh wow, no, that mug is so sexy. That being said, if Brent Brennan loses out or wins 4-8, it's certainly a discussion that you very much have to have because nobody's going to the games next year. It's not like, and let's be honest, at this stage in the game, if he comes into it starts trying to be Mr. Personality in the community now. I mean, that ship's kind of sailed, dude. Like, you've already, I mean, that will be disingenuous. How about that? That would be disingenuous. I don't know. I think at 4-8, that's something that you at least have to, I'm not saying you can do it, but you have to look at it.
If he goes 5-7, I think he's good.
Okay.
I also think it depends on how he loses.
Right.
They've been blown out twice in a row.
Right.
They get blown out against West Virginia. Your next home game is Friday night against Houston at the same time of the basketball game. You might have 8 people there, maybe 9, right?
Right.
No one's going to, right? I believe that if he loses out, I would put it at 60-40, he's fired.
Because I just don't know what again.
And I don't know where the money's coming from. I'll be blunt. But I think it becomes a lot easier to raise that money than if he go,
Let's talk about that for a second and how all of that works, because there is something I was talking with somebody that I think makes a very interesting point. But you know what? And with all this doom and gloom going on, can we talk about something of substance, something of girth?
Oh, substance and girth, if I can handle it.
Sanderson Ford.
Yes.
Sanderson Ford. Now, we are big fans of Rich Rod on this show. Rich Rod in a Sanderson Ford would look absolutely amazing. Oof. Can you imagine that?
Oof. I'm a little hot and bothered just thinking about it.
I mean, dude, yeah, Rich Rod in a Sanderson Ford. But either way, anybody in a Sanderson Ford. Rudy Martinez, the great Rudy Martinez in a Sanderson Ford. You know who wouldn't look great in a Sanderson Ford? Because it's impossible. These Oregon State trolls in here. Why are you here? Go away. Shoo.
Because they want to talk to a team in a real conference. I get it.
All right. Either way, Sanderson Ford, get it all with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense, just like Kobe Thiel. Disclaimer: offers OAC from Ford Credit and expires 10/31. For your next vehicle purchase or lease, choose the dealership that gives back and pays it forward. Sanderson Ford. Also, Sheer, game time. This is your read. This is your read. Sheer's got a story you might not have heard.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have heard this before, but I was at the Alamo Bowl, and there's a gentleman sitting in the hotel lobby with no tickets, like 2 hours before the game. I said, "Sir, you're going to get tickets for you and your daughter?" And he said, "Jason Sheer." He knew my name. We're going to use the Game Time app.
What a humble brag.
Yeah, we're going to use the Game Time app. And I said, remarkable. And he went to that game. Was never worried about tickets.
It's that simple. It is that easy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, just like this gentleman did with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time app. What time is it? Game time. Okay. Now. So this, here's how I think this is interesting though when it comes to this. You have so much money on the table that if this were to actually occur, that donors, or how do I put this, boosters, etc. And if Kevin L. Thomas, if we could bring up the standings right now in the Big 12, just so we can get a fair look at where Arizona is at. All right, Arizona's 1-3. Not good. I think our chances of winning the conference are slowly slipping away.
If Arizona wins out, it would finish what? Let's just guess, like 4th?
Yeah.
Probably?
Yeah.
Hey,
I
I'll
I
take
mean,
it.
I mean, at that point, yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, at this stage of the game, I just need Arizona to beat ASU, and then we'll call it a season. But if you the kind of money that is in play right now, and by the way, I tweeted out yesterday, or I tweeted out earlier about who is the richest person in Tucson, the person that
Besides me.
yeah, besides me, and besides Erica L. Day as well, selling solar. But the it came back that it's probably Humberto Lopez. I do not know Humberto Lopez, and guess what? Humberto Lopez is not probably watching this podcast, although he's a very smart man if he is.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
Yes, but I mean, let's be honest here. Humberto Lopez, meet Mike Luke, the key to success. But let's just say, for example, and again, I'm just using him as an example. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him other than I read an article about him once. Let's say you go to him and you're like, man, we need $20 million to do this, to do that, to do this, to that. There's so much money in play at this point that you basically these donors basically get veto power at this point. That's kind of where it's at. You kind of get veto power because you might not be able to choose the coach, but at the same time, if you're asking for $20 million or whatever, I'm sure as heck not allowing you to hire somebody that I don't agree with.
Didn't Dave, I think it was Dave, that had like the Stevens sit in on a couple interviews?
I can't get into that. I am not going into that.
Not like for Brent and Brennan, but I think at one point, like because of the amount of money the Stevens were donating, they had a hand in the hiring where it's not, I want this guy. It's under no, like, would you donate money to this coach? No.
Right.
Well, then you can't hire him. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like if Humberto's like, here's $8 million to buy out Brent Brennan, you don't go like, cool, when we hire the new coach, I'll introduce you to him. You call him up and say, hey, we're about to bring Rich Rod back. Would you still donate money? And he goes, honestly, no. Then you go, well, then we can't bring Rich Rod back.
Okay, now, by the way, Mr. Tyler Warden, I knew Tyler Warden was rich. I'm a finance guy, and it's actually way simpler than that. They just have to prove that the discounted future projected losses having BB is greater than the buyout. That could be easy to prove. But if you're somebody, do you want to, that could be easy to prove, but is that something that you also want to invest your money in, though, at that point as well?
Something kind of annoys me. I see it on Twitter often. They're like, well, the boosters, they just have to donate. Like, I hate telling people how to spend their money. It's one of my pet peeves. Like, it's not just like, well, Humberto should write an $8 million check. I mean, Arizona's not very good. Like, that's not really how it works. Like, they're helping out the program and stuff like that, but it still costs money. That's one, like, look, if money wasn't an object, right? I think Brent Brennan, let's say he lost the next 2 games and got blown out, I think he'd be fired during the bye week. Seriously.
Right.
But money is an object. It's stupid to ignore money in all of this.
Right. Yes, exactly. All right. Now, when it comes to so that's kind of where it's at. So either way, I think the coaching staff needs to be a little bit tougher when it comes to all of this because we do not have the impact that they believe, or you do not have the impact that they evidently believe that you do. Okay, now when it comes to actually, I don't want to get into any Arizona basketball, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a much kinder, gentler subject on that. But this is what it is. I wanted to be able to just basically talk about this whole media kerfuffle. And Jason Scheer, I mean, like I said, I don't know what else to say. There are things that Brent Brennan has done that have been, and I'll let Scheer speak for his own tweet, but there are things that Brent Brennan has done that have been disingenuous. I don't know what else to say. There just have been.
The media is always going to know when someone is lying to them, the sports media, right? You see this guy every day in practice. You go to practice, you talk to people, whatever, right? Like I know right away when I'm being lied to. And I think it's something, let's just go on the simplest basic thing. If we see Gunnar Maldonado go down with a serious knee injury, why is he on the starting depth chart 2 days later? Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has missed every game but 1 or 2 this season. He is listed as a starting running back on the depth chart. Like, come on. What are
And
we
you know
doing?
what? You know what? The other thing too that I don't really get about this approach as well, and I'm going to keep going back to this. The people in this chat are smart. They're definitely smarter than me. Although I don't know why they're listening, since they are smarter than me. But that was just a joke. We appreciate all of you for listening.
And
but
everyone logs off.
they know what they're watching. They know what they're watching, man. Like they know, they can see. They know exactly what is going on in front of them, and I don't know what else to say. Also, this whole thing about how we have to keep everything a state secret and about this and that, dude. Like I said, man, I think like a team like Colorado, they were more than okay with just going the way that you wanted to go with this.
Colorado in the press box for the game. I don't think we mentioned this, Mike. At halftime, their SID said, "Hey guys, can I have your attention? Travis Hunter will not be returning to the game in order to keep him from getting further injured. So and so is out with a knee injury."
Yeah,
in the game.
In the game. I mean, there would be heads rolling if this, if that were to occur here.
This as further proof that this isn't just us being a jerk to Brennan. Do you remember the reaction when Arizona lost to NAU?
Yes.
I said it is the worst loss in program history. Mm-hmm. I tweeted it and I wrote an article about it. Do you know how many coaches I heard from that week? Not one.
Zero.
They didn't care. Bigger fish to fry than Shear's article.
Right. And that's just, like I said, it's just not a good look because now again, there's going to be people like your Duddlestons that are always going to be, everything's just great, but by and large, it's not going to be received well by the public because these people have lived it. They've been here. They know exactly what they are watching. They are not stupid. Also, on that note, though, so Shear's got Arizona losing, actually, even though he told me the exact opposite. Interesting.
I didn't tell you that.
That is, you did. I'm gonna
when you get off there.
I will show you this as well. All right.
That.
Also, I had an interesting. I'm going to see what I can put out there. I had an interesting discussion with a recruit before the show. I will blame him for the technological difficulties, even though this is on me.
You need to text me about that.
I will when I'm because I do expect Shane to rightfully yell at me after this because this was on me. It will never happen again. I do apologize. But it was interesting for sure. On that note, though, very much appreciate all of you. And again, the Oregon State fans in here, I don't know. This is some odd flex. I don't really get this one at all. Hey, just so you guys know, I love the Digital Dam. The Digital Dam and I are buddies, man. I don't know exactly why you guys are coming at me. I back the dam. Back the dam. That sounds good. I like it. But on that note, Shear, you are the man. Very much appreciate you. You know what? You took the, like I said, you know what? Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. WildcatAuthority.com and the Wildcat Scoop podcast with Shelby.
Okay. All right. Now, later on in the day, I am, if I can get the sign off, I am probably going to put a short or a clip out about said recruit. So we will see. I do apologize about Jacob Franklin. We will get Jacob Franklin on next week. But on that note, though, for Jason Shear, for Jason Shear, for the great Kevin Thomas. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. One last thing. Dude, I was watching that Pittsburgh game, hoping that it got – because I just wanted to see a Diefenbach get into the game.
I know. We were pissed.
We were not happy about that. Pittsburgh do better next. Pittsburgh's good, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
They are very, very good. So, on that note, though, for Jason Shear, no better time to become a PHNX diehard, by the way. Can you pull this up? Pull this up, please, please, please. Diehard membership card, free t-shirt of your choice from the locker, access to all our premium written content, entrance to the Discord lounge, discounts on all events. But for Mr. Jason Shear, for Kevin L. Thomas behind the scene, for the boss, and one of them, and in the inner circle, the great Shane Diefenbach. I am merely Mike Luke. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.